touching the lives of local people every day.
Welcome back and welcome to Business Extra. Tonight we're finding out how Norfolk fishing business Angling Direct went from one shop here in Wroxham in the 1980s to a multi-million pound business that's just floated on the London Stock Exchange. We'll find out how they've done that over the years in just a moment, but first let's catch up on the business headlines from the week.
Aviva's sold a part of their business for £340 million after a strategic review. They've sold Friends Provident International to a group called RL360, which is part of the International Financial Group. Aviva say the deal was worth 3.2 times its 2016 asset value. They also claim it lets them focus on Aviva's business across Asia through digital. 3 Norfolk branches of the Norwich and Peterborough Building Society that are set to close are going to be taken on by another organisation. The Nottingham Building Society will take on the branches in Dereham, Thetford and Fakenham later this year. It's hoped that some of the staff from the existing branches will be taken on. It looks like June was a bit of a mixed month for footfall across Norfolk on our high streets. Nationally, it was up 0.8%, which is being put down to the good weather. Norwich did post a small drop though, which was down 0.9%. It's not so bad though when you look at the year as a whole, which is still up 5% year on year. For some reason, the biggest drop seems to be on Tuesdays. And finally, it's a tough story to talk about without going a little bit Alan Partridge. But there's been a special ceremony to mark 50 years since Norwich led the way with pedestrianisation. London Street became the first in the country to do it, which has led the way for much of the city centre to follow. But it did happen a little by accident after a collapsed sewer left the road closed for 6 weeks. But it was such a success, they made it permanent.
I think often, sometimes you need those sort of individuals and those sort of visionaries to be able to push those boundaries. And again, we're doing it, as you say, in the city in different areas, and there's a fine balance to be had between the needs of the business and the needs of the community and the needs of the city. So you just have to make sure that it's a well-considered piece.
There were 800 traffic movements an hour on this street, which is quite busy. It had narrow pavements, which pedestrians were forced to stay on. And if you wanted to cross from one side to the other, you had to run the risk of crossing a very busy road. And of course, it would have been full of fumes.
Thank you very much indeed. And you join us here at Angling Direct in their warehouse here in Rackheath, their distribution centre. And I'm joined by Martin Page, who was here at the very, very beginning. It's been a long journey for this company, but let's go back to the beginning, 1986. Why did you first get into this business?
Yeah, it has been a long journey, and the reason that we got into the business was twofold, really. One, like the co-founder William Hill and myself decided as businessmen, we were advising businesses anything from startups all the way through to £700 million, that we're technicians, but we ought to actually run a business and actually do the practical stuff, roll up our sleeves and just...
So you were business advisors and you thought,
yes.
Right, let's walk the walk and talk the talk, let's
absolutely,
do the whole work.
Absolutely, and that way you can advise people better, to actually experience all those problems and also the good times as well.
So the first shop was in Wroxham in 1986.
It was.
What was it like when you first started there?
Well, it was quite an interesting experience because I'm a keen angler as well, and the first business that came up when William and I decided we would do a business was a fishing business. And that was a great opportunity because fishing shops at that time didn't really cater properly for a changing trend in angling. There was a rise in carp fishing, and you couldn't get the products you wanted from the old style offering shops. And so I was quite keen to make a change, but the first day, it was a bit of a shock. We only took £20 on that first day, and I thought, oh, what have we done? But time has gone on.
A bit dark and dingy, everything behind the counter. It was
absolutely
a bit
untidy. If you weren't part of the owner's sort of little clique, you probably didn't get very good service. So I was determined that over the years we would change that and make it a modern retailing experience for the benefit of anglers.
But if we skip up to the present day, last week was the big day when you floated on the London Stock Exchange.
It was.
How big a day and how exciting was that?
I think it's really exciting. I think it's massive. There's actually only been 4 companies in the last 10 years in Norfolk that have floated as an AIM company. I think there should be a lot more, but it is a fantastic experience, and it's sort of, you could say it's the end of one journey and the beginning of a new journey. We feel now like we're young adults starting the next phase. But it's been a great journey up to now, and I'm sure it will be a great one after.
Obviously, it's not the right decision for every company, and not every company is in the right position to do it. But would you encourage maybe more to think about it as a realistic and a relevant opportunity?
I think there's a lot more companies in Norfolk that it would be right for, but yeah, you are absolutely right. It is only appropriate to a limited number. Not for a company that envisages selling in the next year or two. This is a growth model where you're actually going to grow the business on. It gives an exit eventually, but it's about a company that's growing, that actually wants ready access to funds. It wants, if you like, there's almost a status about a listed company, that it's good for employees, it's good for getting employment. I think it's good for a lot of companies in Norfolk, but as I say, only those that are on that type of strategy.
But since 1986, there's been the growth of the retail shops. There was the advent of the internet. It seems amazing to think of a time when businesses weren't on the internet.
True.
But where do things go from here? How do you continue to push this company on? Because it's turnover 26, 27 million at the moment. How do you go on to the next level?
Well, we're rolling out new stores right across the country. Our online sales are growing. I mean, online counts for about half our business. But we also sell over £1 million worth of business on an English website into Europe, and we will have translated sites coming live. We've have obviously service provided in the relevant language. So we actually see Europe as a big opportunity as well. So we see there's almost no limit for us, really.
But embracing the European market, again, that's something a lot of companies might be a bit reticent of doing, a bit concerned about doing. For you, was it a logical next step when there may be so many potential customers just the other side of the channel?
Well, it is logical. A lot of Europe looks to England for the lead as far as carp fishing is concerned, and carp fishing is the biggest sector in angling. It's if you like, the trendy sector. And so, because they look to England, and the markets over there are fragmented, and they're not giving this experiential online offering and in-store offering that we're trying to achieve and achieving more and more. So we can do the same thing in Europe, and so we actually look at it as an opportunity.
But one thing people might say is, well, Norfolk's not a great place for a distribution-based business because of the infrastructure, the roads and so forth. Is it a problem for you, or are there definite advantages?
No, I actually think there's advantages, and in fact more and more businesses are actually setting up their .com type business from Norfolk, because if you actually think of all the lorries coming in with the goods into Norfolk, they actually want to be full going out. And so we can actually provide that ability to be full going out as well. So the logistics is not as bad as people would imagine, but there's also a better access to staffing, because in the centre of the country there's far more logistics businesses, so there's far more competition for staff. So you've got better access to staffing, lower costs, and the actual transport logistics is nowhere near as bad as people think. So actually I think Norfolk is a great place to run our business.
And if I was talking to you, 30 years ago, when it all started, I told you you'd be standing here as things are now, would you ever have seen it reaching that point?
Not this sort of size, no. Had an aspiration to do something good, but we actually now have reached a size and we are growing rapidly where we can actually see something really fantastic. And as long as we do not lose our ethos, which is, that it's all about the angler, it's all about our customer and developing that and making their life experience better. And that's, again, I think that's where being listed comes in. That we're not beholden to like a PE house or a particular fund or anything like that. We can continue with our purpose and make everyone's life better.
So that lovely stuff. Thank you very much indeed, Martin.
Thank you very much indeed.
Well, as I said, that is all we've got time for tonight from Angling Direct, who've now floated on the London Stock Exchange. That's it for Business Extra for this week. We're back at the same time next week, of course. If you want to get involved, we're on Twitter. We are at MustardTV, and the hashtag, as always, is Business Extra. And a very good night.
touching the lives of local people every day.